coverage you can count on. This is an Erie News Now election update.
All right, here we go. Erie News Now at 6 has just concluded, but our coverage of the election continues here on this Friday evening as you're taking a live look right now at Philadelphia, where ballots are continuing to be counted both in Philadelphia County and in Allegheny County, which is Pittsburgh. The ballot counting has resumed, and we are expecting to get some ballot information in for the state of Pennsylvania and Philly and Pittsburgh in the next half hour or so. Again, we know right now that this race and the presidential race still too close to call, but we want to update you on the latest numbers right now. We start as we have been with the popular vote. Right now you can see former Vice President Joe Biden, 73.8 million votes as we currently sit right now. Donald Trump, the current incumbent president, on the cusp of 70 million votes with 69,922,000. Right now, the popular vote being won by Joe Biden, as is the Electoral College. You can see right now the former vice president has 264 electoral votes. He is one state away from winning the presidency of the United States. Donald Trump sits at 214 electoral votes. We'll get to the map in a second, but he needs to win nearly every single state remaining to have a chance at becoming president for a second term. Here's where the vote stands in Pennsylvania right now. Numbers coming in at this moment. You can see right now the lead for Joe Biden, just a shade over 15,000 votes. Right now, the former vice president has the lead. Again, right now we are not projecting the state of Pennsylvania for Joe Biden, but he does have the lead, and we expect more votes from Democratic counties and Democratic areas to come in throughout the night. Let's go ahead and take a look at where things stand in Erie County. The numbers similar to where they were an hour ago. Joe Biden leads Donald Trump by a score in Erie County of 67,265 votes to 65,834 votes as we sit right now. Moving on to other states, the state of Alaska. 3 electoral votes up for grabs there. Donald Trump has the lead in that state, 62 to 34%. 3 electoral votes, nothing significant, but still 3 electoral votes nonetheless as we sit right now. In Arizona, we've been telling you that the race has been called by the AP, and it has, but right now we continue to keep an eye out on it as we are waiting other information from the state of Arizona to see if there will be any new vote totals. Right now, the lead for Joe Biden has shrunk slightly. It's a 39,000 vote lead for the Democratic candidate, Joe Biden, 1.5 million to 1.53 million. Biden ahead there. Let's take a look at the state of Georgia. All eyes on Georgia and Pennsylvania right now. You can see no new vote has come in the last half hour, but we are seeing Joe Biden's lead get wider. Right now, it's about a 4,000 vote cushion for the former vice president. You don't think 4,000 votes is enough? Try thinking about it when there are only 9,000 votes left in the entire state, and that's what we're being told right now. Just about 9,000 votes right now. Actually, we have new numbers coming out of Georgia. Look at this. We just got updated numbers right now. You see at the moment, Joe Biden increasing his lead just a little bit to 4,200 votes as we currently speak. So we're on the air, new numbers coming in. We also have new numbers out of the state of Georgia, and we're going to try to get those numbers to you in just 1 second here. Take a look at this. So this is the state of Georgia right now. The state of Georgia, again, Joe Biden's lead increasing to about 4,200 votes. In the state of Arizona, new numbers as well. Slight numbers here, but you see Joe Biden's lead to 39,000, just a slight tick over 39,000 right now. Joe Biden with the lead. In the state of Nevada, Biden ahead there as well. You see the vote totals at the moment. Right now, Joe Biden's lead has increased a fair amount in this race. 23,000 votes to be exact. Joe Biden in front in the state of Nevada. North Carolina, these numbers have been the same for a relatively long period of time, and we can tell you that we do expect right now those numbers to stay the same. North Carolina has already made the mention that they will not be counting any more votes and not release any more information until next week. So right now, for the time being, the vote stands. Donald Trump, 2,732,000 votes. Joe Biden, 2,655,000 votes. We also want to get you some up-to-date information on the local races and statewide races in Pennsylvania. We start with a race that was called earlier today. Josh Shapiro, the incumbent Democrat, wins the race for the Attorney General in Pennsylvania. He has 3,326,000 votes. Heather Heidelbaugh, his competition on the Republican side, with 3,082,000 votes. And right now we can report with 95% of the votes in, Josh Shapiro, the incumbent Democrat, will win another term as the Pennsylvania Attorney General. We also are able to predict the Auditor General race today. Timothy DeFore, the Republican, takes the victory over Nina Ahmad, the Democrat. Right now the margin 4 points. As you can see, 3.2 to 3 million votes in favor of Timothy DeFore, the Republican. The only race in the state we have not been able to call yet is this one, and it's the race for the PA Treasurer. Look at how close the margin is. With 95% of the vote reporting, Republican Stacey Garrity holds about a 103,000 vote lead on Democrat incumbent Joe Torsella. This would be one of the only races in which the challenger defeats the incumbent on a state level, but the Republican right now does have the lead in that race. Here are some races that we have been able to call here so far. Glenn Thompson, Republican incumbent, wins another term in the U.S. House. He defeats Robert Williams, the Democrat, by a 74-26 margin, so good numbers there for the Republican. Another winner in the U.S. House is incumbent Republican Mike Kelly. He'll defeat Christy Ganibas. The vote total right now showing 205,000 for Mike Kelly, just under 139,000 for Christy Ganibas. Moving on to the state Senate, shall we? We go to District 21 of the state Senate, and it's Scott Hutchinson, the incumbent Republican, who defeats Shelby Strohmeyer, the Democrat, 71-29%, with 94% of the vote reporting. So good news for Republicans in the state House, state Senate, in the U.S. House. Another good news for the state Senate was Dan Laughlin's victory yesterday. We called that race for Senator Laughlin yesterday, but right now he remains ahead by 20 percentage points over Democratic challenger Julie Slomski. Here are some state House races. Ryan Bizzarro, this is the breaking news locally of the evening. We can confirm that Democrat incumbent Ryan Bizzarro will win re-election in the State House District 3 over Republican Greg Hayes. We knew Greg Hayes had been running a spirited campaign, but it's not going to be enough. Ryan Bizzarro has just shy of 22,000 votes. Greg Hayes a little bit less than 14,000 votes. So the margin right now about 8,000 between the two, and we can see Bizzarro will win re-election. The final race that we will report to you today, as we've been saying for the last couple of days, Brad Rowe, the incumbent Republican, will take down Matt Ferentz, the challenging Democrat, by about 30 percentage points, 65% to 35%. He has 20,000 votes, just near 21,000, and Matt Ferentz, 11,118. Those are the race results right now as we come to you live on the air. Hi, everybody. I'm Isaac Petcash. Thanks for being with us on Erie News Now, election coverage you can count on. Ethan Kibbe and the shows earlier today, if you were watching Erie News Now at 5, called today Groundhog Day. And for very good reason. If you haven't seen the movie Groundhog Day, it's a movie where essentially every single time the main character wakes up, he repeats the same day over and over. And it feels like that's the case for us right now. It's been over 48 hours since we've made a call in any state in the United States. The last state call that we made was for Michigan back on Wednesday for Joe Biden. We haven't had anything since then. Here's the Electoral College Map where things stand now. If you've been watching our coverage, it looks somewhat familiar. 264 electoral votes for Joe Biden, 214 electoral votes for President Donald Trump. We can see it right now. There are 4 battleground states up for grabs. Alaska down here, not a battleground, but Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada remain uncalled by the Associated Press. We are waiting to see if and when a state will be called, whether it's tonight, whether it's tomorrow, we don't know. We can't tell you depending on what we know here at the moment. So again, we continue to wait, continue to see if there will be a call by anyone right now tonight, but we do know that Joe Biden is closing in on that presidency, something that he has been vying for the last couple of years, and especially since he was able to win the Democratic primary. As we come on the air tonight, we also want to make a couple more mentions here tonight. Number one is that we know the media status of the president and former vice president. We know that tonight Joe Biden is expected to speak to the public. That'll be in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware. However, we don't exactly know when he'll be speaking. What we know is that prime time. That's what we're expecting at the moment right now, but we don't know exactly what time. We'll, of course, bring that to you live on our air as soon as we hear what time that will be. We're also learning today that the president is not going to be speaking. This is just coming out in the last hour or so. Mark Knoller of CBS News reporting that the White House has called a lid for the day. What a lid means is that there's not going to be any news conferences with the president for the rest of the day. So President Trump is not going to be speaking tonight, according to Mark Knoller's report from CBS. There will not be any press conferences by the president. You recall there was one scheduled last night. It actually was going on at this time 24 hours ago, about 6:30 p.m. The president was speaking, and so we do not expect a press conference here by the president of the United States here on this Friday evening. So again, as we sit right now and as we take a look as to what is exactly going on in the Electoral College, what we know is this. We know the votes are getting closer. We know the votes are being counted as quickly as they can. We also know that right now the race is still too close to call, and we don't know exactly when that's going to be the case. Here's the schedule for us tonight. I'm going to be with you at the alert desk until 7:30 this evening, where we expect to get new numbers in the next hour or so. And then once 7:30 hits, we'll let our night side crew take on the challenge. They've done a more than impeccable job. Our Mike Ruzzi, Emily Matson, Haley Potter will be in tonight as well to talk about the election and coronavirus concerns. Ethan Kibbe and John Leidick will have control of the 10 o'clock. John Leidick's actually out shooting high school football right now, but a lot of things going on as we currently speak. I'm going to go ahead and change the graphic right now. You see Biden right now leading the Electoral College 264 to 214. More vote coming in as we speak right now. So again, we await new results, if there are any, to come in the next hour or so. But we are going to see what exactly the deal is here in the very near future. We know that. The developments that we had this morning were very simple. Joe Biden took the lead in two states. He took the lead in Georgia and he took the lead in Pennsylvania. Donald Trump had been leading those two states by slim margins up until this morning, but as of about 4 o'clock this morning, Joe Biden was able to take hold in Georgia, and then around 8 o'clock this morning, Donald Trump lost the lead in Pennsylvania. So right now, Joe Biden is in the lead in essentially every swing state. Let's go ahead and break it down for you, shall we? This is my Twitter account. Here's the Electoral College map as it sits right now. You see Joe Biden's lead right now is about by 0.3 of a point in Pennsylvania. He also leads in Georgia at the moment by 0.1 of a point, and Nevada by 2 points. As you can see here on the Electoral College map, Joe Biden was declared the winner in Arizona by the Associated Press, but we are keeping an eye on that to see if it does tighten. It has tightened a little bit, but we're still awaiting some results in Arizona. The only swing state right now where the president owns a lead is North Carolina. He owns that by about a percentage point on the Electoral College map. But again, we are still waiting vote to come in North Carolina, and that most likely won't come in until next week. So we continue to await. We continue to hold out hope that some state will be called. Whether it's called for the Democrat or the Republican, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, at this point, we're just looking for some sort of new information to be able to give to you in the presidential race, because again, we feel bad that we haven't been able to call any states or let you know of any states, but again, this is at this point we don't really know anything at the moment. We do, though, as we continue along with the presidential race, we do want to update you on some developments coming out of the Pennsylvania GOP and the Supreme Court. Here's the news that we learned just a few hours ago. We're learning right now that Pennsylvania Republicans have asked the United States Supreme Court to order election officials to stop counting mail-in ballots that arrived after Election Day. Take a look at this. A statement from the Republican Party says, in part, quote, "The vote in Pennsylvania may well determine the next president of the United States." That was in part of the application. The GOP said that although the state's top election officials has directed all counties to separate out ballots that arrive after Election Day, it's unclear whether all the counties are obeying that directive. Continuing in the article here, it says Republicans said the state Supreme Court had no authority to extend the mail-in ballot deadline, and therefore any votes cast during the extended period should not be counted. They asked the U.S. Supreme Court to order all counties to keep the late ballots separate and not to count them. Otherwise, it might not be possible to remove those ballots from the count. And again, you see the party is asking for a ruling as soon as possible, and understandably so, because the vote in Pennsylvania is very close to being complete, and right now their candidate, Donald Trump, does not have the lead in the state of Pennsylvania. So that's the latest news out of PA. This, of course, comes on the back of a lot of lawsuits that were filed by the president's legal team and by the president in the last couple of days. There were lawsuits, as we said, filed in the states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. We're also hearing lawsuits in Nevada as well. So 4 states in particular. And so right now we're waiting to see if any of those have specific validity to them. We know there have been a couple that have already been not ignored, but have been dismissed by the courts in Michigan and the courts in Wisconsin. But there are several lawsuits, a lot that we really are continuing to develop and learn more from here as we move forward. So again, we're continuing to look at the numbers. We're continuing to look at the states. We will always make sure to give you the latest numbers as we get them. I'll show you exactly how we figure out where these numbers are at and how we show you these numbers. So take a look here. For those of you who were on this morning, I kind of showed this to you. This is how we find out our data. So I'm circling this right now. You can see these are a list of all of the races, local, state, and national, that we come up with and that we can present to you. You see in red, the darker the red, the more updated the results are. So as we see the times here, this is where the data updates, and this is where we can be told, all right, data's updated. We can give you some more results here. So you see right now, this U.S. President national vote, the popular vote, has been updating consistently. But we see now, we do have some new updates in Pennsylvania and Arizona. So we'll go ahead and get those to you right now. Let's go ahead and start with Pennsylvania. We're, again, continuing just to give you the numbers, breaking them down for you. Right now, Joe Biden's lead. Take a look at this. Joe Biden's lead has increased. Now the lead for Joe Biden is 17,000 votes, according to our projections. Just over 17,000 votes for Joe Biden in the state of Pennsylvania. So you can see that lead slowly but surely pushing up. We see Joe Biden in the advantage right now, 3.31 million votes, 3.30 votes right now for Donald Trump. We also have some new numbers out of Arizona. Take a look at this. Biden's lead is increasing in Pennsylvania. It is shrinking in Arizona. Right now, Joe Biden has 1,571,000 votes. Donald Trump, 1,533,000 votes. You see right there, that's a 38,000 vote margin as some votes come in, especially from Maricopa County. So we are continuing to see the votes come in, and we're seeing that the lead for the former vice president, the advantage for him in Pennsylvania, somewhat advantageous for him in Arizona. He still has the lead, as you can see. We've already called it, but we're monitoring it just to make sure that we are fair to both sides here. And you can see that lead has slightly, ever so slightly decreased in the state of Arizona. All right, let's go ahead and tell you what we know right now as well when it comes to the vote in Pennsylvania. Here's what we've been told by the people that we have on the ground, none on the ground, but people that we are keeping an eye on and keeping an ear on when it comes to the vote in Pennsylvania. We're learning that in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County, there is expected to be some vote coming in the next half hour, between 6:30 and 7. That updated vote was part of it, but we're also expected to get some provisional ballots in, some military ballots in, and some mail-in ballots in Allegheny County. We're still expecting other votes as well to come in Philadelphia County, which of course is heavily Democratic. And so as that vote total comes in, we will give that to you. Here's a look at exactly what the deal is right now. I just want to go ahead and zoom in here on Pennsylvania here and show you where the outstanding vote is left. This is where the vote is still left to be counted in the state of Pennsylvania. So you see right here, I'm mousing over the counties. You see Philadelphia County about 95% of the way in. So there is still some vote left in Philadelphia County, and we do estimate the majority of that vote will come in for Joe Biden. So good news for Biden there. Excuse me, to potentially pad his lead. Looking elsewhere, the big one right now is Delaware County. There's still some votes to come in Delaware County, about 5% of the vote left. You can see it's Biden with a healthy lead, 62 to 36 at the moment. So more votes coming in for Joe Biden there. You go around the other counties, the ones outside of Philadelphia. Bucks County has a little bit of vote left. That one is more close. Donald Trump has closed the gap in Bucks County, but you can see 98.4%. So there is a little bit of vote left to come in there, but not a lot. Just going around the rest of the counties here, the question becomes, if you're the president, where exactly do you have the ability to make ground up? Well, you take a look at Pike County here. Pike County still has 5% of the vote left. There's not a lot of votes there coming in from Pike County, only about 30,000 plus totaled so far. So the president will most likely make up some votes in that county, but not a ton, maybe a few hundred, but nothing extremely significant. Elsewhere around the bottom of the state, we've been looking at Cumberland County. This is where the president has made up some ground as well. He leads 54 to 43, but you can see 99.2% of the precincts reporting in Cumberland County. So really not a lot of vote there for the president. Let's go ahead and go to other counties as well. We're literally just going through counties that are Republican and Democrat to see where the vote's left outstanding. Fulton County, you can see, has about 8% of the vote left to go. Trump, again, a healthy lead, but only 7,000 votes reported. So these are smaller counties. They are Republican counties, but smaller counties that have some votes left to go. So the president will pick up some votes there, but not as much as he would like. Here's Butler County. President leads in Butler County, but again, 98.9% of the vote reporting, so not a lot of votes left to be there for Donald Trump. Moving across here, you see the counties near our area. Crawford County still has a bit of vote left to go. Our John Last has been on that right now. Warren County, a couple of votes left as well. But again, a lot of the counties that are remaining, including Allegheny County, Joe Biden is the one who has the lead and a lot of the vote coming in. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to keep that number. The votes come in, you count the votes, that's what ends up happening. But it is looking good, at least from what the projections and the votes coming in the last few hours have been for Joe Biden. So that's Pennsylvania again. You see the lead total right there, 17,000 votes for the Democrat. And again, Pennsylvania could, at this point, end the race, knowing that Joe Biden has 264 electoral votes. He just needs 6 more. That's it. So again, 6 more votes is needed here for Joe Biden to be able to claim the presidency of the United States. So we continue to await that right now. Let's go ahead and see if we can get any live cameras here for you. Yeah, here's one, a live camera for you in Philadelphia, where things are quiet now. You can see in the far left corner there, a couple of people are counting some ballots, it looks like. But Philadelphia County, for the most part, is shored up all of its votes. So right now it's just a matter of getting that vote counted, getting that vote in, so we can continue to project numbers here over the next few minutes. We're just looking to see if there are other races that we can look at for vote totals coming in. The only vote totals that we see coming in new right now are for the state positions, so we'll update you as we continue along the way here. But again, as we continue to talk, it's just a matter of seeing whether or not there's enough vote out there to be able to make a call for the state of Pennsylvania or the state of Georgia. So again, we continue to wait. We continue to see if there's anything that we can give to you. But right now, there doesn't seem to be anything extremely pressing besides what we know at the moment right now. I want to welcome you back inside the Alert Desk. Isaac Petcash with you. You see the graphic at the bottom of your screen. Joe Biden, 264 electoral votes. Donald Trump at 214. More vote continuing to come in. A lot of people have been asking the question, and I do want to kind of clarify up a couple of things. A lot of people have been asking the question, how come the vote's taking so long? Why is it taking forever to be able to count these votes, to make sure they're processed correctly? And why haven't we called anything yet? Why isn't a lot of Democrats, people who may have voted for Joe Biden, could be saying, why haven't we called the race yet? The race is over. There's not enough votes left for Donald Trump. You could say that. Again, it's understandable and it's a fair assessment. But the reason that we're not making any projections, number one, we go off of what the Associated Press says. So if the Associated Press makes a projection, we then add that to the Biden or the Trump category. The other thing, too, that you have to consider is, even though Joe Biden does have a lead in the 4 states right now that are outstanding, so Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona, he's already won. Some networks have not called it, but they still have him ahead. You have to consider this. You have to consider that the margin of votes is still very slim. So in Pennsylvania, we're learning that there's still about 100,000 ballots left to be counted. Joe Biden does have a 17,000 vote lead, and that is a healthy lead for where we're at right now. And it would lead you to believe, with the votes that are left outstanding, a large portion of those votes will come in for Joe Biden. With that being said, however, we can't guarantee that that's going to be the case. With 100,000 ballots still left to be counted, there is a chance that Donald Trump could be able to make up that margin for Biden. There are a couple of things that we use and that other networks use to be able to determine a winner. Number one is the margin that the candidate has, the lead, I should say, is the lead the candidate has bigger than the total number of votes remaining? And the answer to that question right now is no. The answer to that question is, at the moment, the leads that Joe Biden has in the states that he is leading in is not enough to say that the remaining vote won't be able to turn the tide. So a 17,000 vote lead for Biden with 100,000 votes left in Pennsylvania, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that Biden's going to assumedly win if all those votes came in. So really what you have to ask yourself is, if Joe Biden or Donald Trump is leading in a state, if all the remaining votes came in for Joe Biden or Donald Trump, so let's say, for example, Biden's winning Pennsylvania by 17,000 votes, can we guarantee that if all the remaining votes in Pennsylvania were cast for Donald Trump, hypothetically, that Joe Biden would still be able to hold on to the state? And if the answer is no, it's unlikely any of these networks are going to be able to call the race. The other thing you have to consider, too, and think of this as we move throughout the night, and you watch us or any other major network or things of that nature, and you wonder whether or not there'll be anything that can be called. Consider this. A lot of networks, including ourselves and the Associated Press, need to be able to wait until a lead is outside of the margin of error / recount category. So you look at a state like Georgia. Let's go ahead and take a look at Georgia right now. A lot of people might see that Georgia is right now too close to call, but is in the Biden category. Here's where we're at in Georgia right now. You see Biden has a lead of 4,000 votes. You see there are about 8,000 to 9,000 votes left outstanding. So, again, you have to consider, is the number of votes the candidate's ahead by enough so that if every other vote came in for the opposing candidate, he'd still win? The answer to that is no. The other thing we have to consider as well is, are we in recount territory? We've already been notified today that the state of Georgia is going to have a recount no matter what. Regardless of who wins the state, no matter who gets called, the winner in the state of Georgia, there's going to be a recount. So you have to consider, is the vote total above the recount threshold? And right now, the answer to that is no. Same with Pennsylvania. Let's go ahead and update you and show you Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania, Joe Biden right now leads by right now it's 16,000 votes. Donald Trump's made up about 1,000 votes in the state of Pennsylvania, but it's a 16,000 vote lead for Joe Biden. So the question becomes, with about 100,000 votes left to go, it's very clear that if 100,000 votes came in all for Donald Trump, hypothetically, that it would be a Donald Trump victory. We could not project the state for Joe Biden. But we also have to look at this as well. Right now, Joe Biden is only up by about 0.3%. The recount threshold in most states is 0.5%, meaning that if a race ended within 0.5% from some other race, normally there would be a recount, whether that's an automatic recount or a recount requested by the president or the presidential candidate. So we're not above that recount threshold right now. Joe Biden is not up by enough votes that would not trigger an automatic recount. So those two categories you have to consider. So that's a large portion of the reason why we're not calling the states right now. So that's a very elongated version, if you will, to what's somewhat of a short answer, basically saying, no, we aren't able to call the states as we sit right now. So again, we continue to monitor. We continue to look to see if there's any sort of updates that we're getting. I continue to check Twitter at will, and right now there's not anything specific that we can see that's updated, but again, vote still continues to come in, so we'll continue to be with you until that vote does come in. Other news that we have today, I'm just checking to make sure that we have correct information here. There's a fly that got right by me. All right, let's take a look at some news coming out of the state of Georgia. So there's been a race today to correct bad ballots that came out in the state of Georgia. So take a look at this. We're reading from NBC News here. Advocates for both presidential candidates race to find every person in Georgia who submitted a flawed ballot before time ran out on Friday to fix the paperwork in a race that could be decided by the narrowest of margins. Here's what we're learning. Hours before 5 p.m., Christian Clatterbuck and Sarah Mang joined about 20 other volunteers who planned to visit addresses in suburban Atlanta's Gwinnett County in search of voters whose ballots were initially rejected but could be fixed with a signature or an ID. So, again, these are ballots that, we say bad ballots. These aren't necessarily ballots that are bad, quote unquote, but they just need to be fixed with a signature or an ID. They're initially rejected. They are legal ballots. Again, this is not voter fraud. These ballots are legal, but they just have to find them. Excuse me. So, again, that's the news we're following out of Georgia here. Other things as well that we're looking at the moment, just, again, we're hearing as well the GOP, that's been another big story as well today. The Republicans in government, Senate and the House, really split over the claims of the false election, the rigged election claims that is being made by Donald Trump this evening. We really, at the moment, don't have any evidence, don't have any concrete information that there is a rigged election. Again, we have not heard any sufficient evidence to confirm that that's the case here on Erie News Now. So we will continue to update it. You hear the arguments and see what the deal is. But again, nothing right now that we know of that is extremely or confirmed to be fraud in this election. So, again, some stories coming out of Georgia and Pennsylvania. Again, Pennsylvania and lawsuits across the country continue to be put on by the president, Donald Trump. And so we'll continue to monitor them. We'll continue to let you know when those, if at all, these lawsuits become legitimate. Because they have been dismissed, at least some of them, by the courts in Michigan, the courts in Wisconsin. So we'll keep you up to date. We'll keep you monitored. But that's the results and the information that we have coming out of the states of Pennsylvania and Georgia and any other critical swing state that's being called here. All right, here we go. Right now, we want to go ahead and update you on some numbers here today. Let's go ahead and go back to the numbers board and update you on the latest right now that we're learning when it comes to the presidential race. You can see Donald Trump in the popular vote has eclipsed 70 million votes. You see right now Donald Trump at 70,700,000 votes. He is still trailing 3 points in the popular vote behind Joe Biden, 73,952,000, so nearly a 4 million vote advantage for the former vice president over President Donald Trump in the popular vote. Here's the latest out of Pennsylvania. No new results since 6:53 p.m. It's been about 10 minutes since we've gotten new results. And here's where things stand right now. You see Joe Biden at the moment does have a lead. He does have a lead of about 16,000 votes over Donald Trump. Right now, the president trying to make up that total with about 3% of the vote left to come in Pennsylvania. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. Anything at this point is possible. It's the election and it's 2020. But it is a lead right now for the former Vice President Joe Biden. Here's some new numbers coming out of Georgia just about a minute ago. Let's take a look at where those numbers stand right now. You see Joe Biden's lead is about 4,300, I should say. As you can see, the Vice President at the moment in the lead by just a sliver of a margin. So again, like we said, Georgia, a state where you really can't make a prediction on it. Number one, because the Secretary of State's already said there's going to be a recount. Number two, because it's within the margin of error. Number three, because there aren't enough votes that are left to confirm that Joe Biden would be able to win if all the votes went to Donald Trump. So again, that's what we're seeing right now. We're continuing to see vote coming in. We're continuing to see the vote come out of the state of Georgia and the state of Arizona. Here's the latest from AZ. You can see Joe Biden continuing to have the lead. We have projected him the winner, but we're keeping an eye on the state, as we've said, to continue along here when it comes to the numbers. What we're going to do right now, we actually want to take you to our Ethan Kibbe here. He's right now doing a breakdown of the numbers here on our Erie News Now at 7 o'clock newscast. Let's go to him right now.
That leaves us Georgia and Pennsylvania, both of which will almost certainly have recounts. Georgia, we know for sure, is going to have a recount. Right now, Joe Biden is ahead there, and as one election official has said at Emily, it's going to come down to a number of votes equivalent to the enrollment of a large high school. Think about that. That's how close Georgia is going to be. Think McDowell, the number of kids there. That's how many votes are going to determine that race in Georgia. We'll have a recount there, likely to go blue, though. And then we have Pennsylvania. As we know, Joe Biden pulling ahead here as well by doing well in suburban areas and outpacing what Hillary Clinton managed to do. Emily, that's been the hook for him in a lot of these states. Donald Trump did about as well as he did 4 years ago, but Joe Biden pulled those other voters who didn't vote for either of the two, and he managed to say, hey, I'm not Hillary Clinton, vote for me. And that's what's given him these states by such narrow margins, or at least seems to be shaping up that way.
Yeah, these last...
It's a great update there by Ethan, giving an idea of just how close the race in Georgia will be. Here are the numbers one more time. Yeah, he's right. You could equivocate the results in Georgia to a small high school. Think of like he said, a McDowell. That's how close the numbers are right now. And it just goes to show, again, as we speak, how close this presidential race is. Not very much separating the two candidates, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. As, again, we see the race in Georgia right now. Happy to have you in here on Alert Desk. Isaac Petcash with you as we continue our coverage here on the presidential race. Again, want to take you back to the Electoral College Map right now as I will refresh it here and show you on this Friday evening. 264 for Biden, 214 for Donald Trump. You see the states won. It's a pretty clear pattern. Donald Trump has made a pretty strong statement in the Midwest, as is normal Republican territory. He also has claimed all the states so far in the southern portion of the U.S., although Georgia could put a stopgap in that if Biden is able to take the state of Georgia. North Carolina, he has the lead. So right now we're seeing a lot of what we saw in 2016 minus a few states. We're seeing Donald Trump sweep the South for the most part. Georgia's still in question. We're seeing the Midwest go to Trump. And we're seeing the West go to the Democratic candidate, which was the case in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, and now the case with Joe Biden. Here's the difference. And again, this is really where we're seeing a stark difference in 2020. If you remember back last election, Hillary Clinton and her campaign team, you heard so much talk about the blue wall. The blue wall that includes the states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and sometimes Ohio. And what I want to do right now is I'm going to search it right now. I'm going to search the 2016 presidential results. And I want you to see, I'm going to go back to my screen here really quickly. I want you to see exactly what we mean by this blue wall. A lot of people talk about, blue wall, but what does that mean? What does blue wall mean here? And we can show this on a map. We kind of talked a little bit about it last night, but we're gonna show it exactly what it means in color. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so this is what the so-called quote-unquote blue wall looks like. No, this is the 2020 presidential race. I would like the 2016 presidential race. All right, well, we'll get that in just a second for you. Hopefully, we'll be able to predict that here, show that for you right now. But again, the blue wall has been incredibly necessary for the Democratic presidential candidates to be able to convert the United States. I apologize. Right now I'm just trying to get that map for you. Here we go. We've got it now for you, the 2016 presidential map. But it's been so critical for Democrats and Republicans to gain states in that blue wall, those four big states that we're seeing that has led to the presidency. And let's show you what we mean. So in 2016, here's the map. You take a look, and the map looks somewhat similar, at least in some retrospect, to 2020. You see Hillary Clinton, again, did well on the West Coast. She was able to win those states. She was able to win the states all up in the East. She did take some states in the Midwest, did win Nevada. She did not win Arizona. That's something that we are right now projecting for Joe Biden. But the rest of the map looked fairly similar. You saw Donald Trump came down. He won the southern states. Georgia's still up in the air. But for the most part, these states look very similar. Iowa went to Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton won Minnesota. Joe Biden also winning it here in 2020. This is the difference, though. If you're looking for one specific area to pinpoint where the presidential election flipped, this is it. In 2016, Donald Trump took Pennsylvania. He won Ohio. He won Michigan. And he won Wisconsin. All states that are part of the so-called blue wall were not the case in 2020. We saw Donald Trump, or 2016 rather, we saw Donald Trump bulwark his way through the West Coast, which ended up giving him the presidency with 306 electoral votes. This is the difference in 2020, and you can just see how much a couple of states makes a difference. Joe Biden at 264, this is it. This is the blue wall that Joe Biden said he needed to be able to rebuild, that right now he seems to be rebuilding. And again, as we look at it on our Electoral College map, you look at Michigan, you look at Wisconsin, you look at Pennsylvania, and he has been able to flip at least two, possibly all three of those states right now. And again, critical for the Democratic candidate to be able to get that, to claim victory. And Joe Biden seems to be doing that right now in large numbers here in the state of Pennsylvania as we continue our coverage here on ENN+. 7:10 p.m. on the East Coast. Glad you're with us. We continue our coverage very, very closely looking at Pennsylvania right now. We see it's about a 16,000 vote lead for Joe Biden. Wait, hold on just a second. It looks like we're getting some new numbers now. And it looks like the lead for Joe Biden has increased. We just got that update seconds ago. Let's see if we can get it for you. It looks like the lead in Pennsylvania for Joe Biden has increased to about 19,000 votes. But let's go ahead and see if we can get that update for you in just a couple of minutes here. We're going to refresh our data update board that we have on our computer. And then we'll go ahead and update that for you as soon as we hear new information. So we don't have any updated information right now, but we just saw it tick across our screen, and it looks like the vote for Biden is a little bit further up than it was just moments ago. So we'll get you to that as soon as we hear more here on Erie News Now. Again, we're going to be here with you until 7:30 p.m. If you're not watching us, you're most likely watching Erie News Now at 7. Of course, make sure to continue to tune in on our evening shows. We'll have Erie News Now at 10, Erie News Now at 11, and we certainly will continue to keep you updated here for the presidential race and the local races as well. Before we go ahead and dive into the numbers in Pennsylvania as we're waiting for the numbers to update, we'll go ahead and recap some of the local races for you. I do want to mention that the vote that we just talked about in Pennsylvania, and you might want to take note of this, Allegheny County is starting to count ballots again. And that's critical because Allegheny County wasn't counting any ballots yesterday. They're now counting ballots today. And the numbers that we just got are from Allegheny County. So here's what we're learning. We're learning that County PA Executive Rich Fitzgerald said that 5,345 ballots were processed. Of those ballots, 4,134 were for Joe Biden, 1,076 were for Donald Trump. So Joe Biden wins about 75% of the ballots there. A 4-to-1 ratio, I should say, when it comes to the ballots that were just processed in Allegheny County. So Joe Biden's lead about to 10,000, and when we're looking for those numbers very quickly, but we don't have them just yet. But we are going to update you on the local races before we get to those numbers in Pennsylvania. So let's do that right now, shall we? Before we update you with the presidential race, let's go ahead and show the numbers in the PA Treasury race. As we said, this is the only race right now on our map that we're counting and that we're following that has not been called statewide. You can see right now Stacey Garrity, the Republican, 49% of the vote. She has 3,216,304 votes. Joe Torsella, the Democrat, with 3,112,499 votes. So the lead about 103,000 or so for Stacey Garrity. The number in the top right corner is incorrect. It is not 60% reporting. It's 95% reporting from what we're seeing on our data map here. So the incumbent Democrat, not a lot of time left to be able to make up that deficit as he is trying to win another term, win another session as the PA Treasurer here. Here are the other races that we want to make note of. There was a race for the Attorney General that was not called earlier today and did get called later today. Josh Shapiro, the Democrat. I was joking with Jeff Bloodworth a little bit earlier that I think he has as many votes in his name as he does media appearances in the last 24 hours. He has 3,327,000 votes. Heather Heitlebaugh, the Republican, putting up a good fight, but she comes just short. She has 3,082,000 votes right now. And with 95% reporting, we are projecting that that number is not going to be enough for Heather Heidelbaugh to make up the difference. The race for the Auditor General also got called today, so a lot of races statewide that were being predicted. We can announce that Timothy DeFore, the Republican incumbent, or not incumbent rather, Republican challenger, there was no incumbent this year for the Auditor General. Nita Ahmad, the Democratic challenger, is not able to claim the victory. So we, of course, now do know at the moment right now that Timothy DeFore will win that race. Okay, here we go. New numbers out of the state of Pennsylvania. We had been talking about them. We had been saying that there were new numbers that had just come out. Let's give those numbers to you right now. And in Pennsylvania, take a look at these numbers. We see them just coming in. New votes out of Allegheny County, and it shows that Joe Biden's lead has increased to about 17,000 votes right now as we see it. You see the numbers coming in from Allegheny County. Joe Biden with 3,320,000 votes. Donald Trump with 3,303,000 electoral votes. So right now, the lead for Biden is increasing. It is increasing right now for Joe Biden. He has about a 17,000 vote lead, as we mentioned. So continuing to see if we can get any sort of interest, or rather any sort of vote tallies in Pennsylvania. We're looking, though, for more votes, and as ballots continue to come in and be processed, we are seeing that it is Joe Biden who has the lead in Pennsylvania. And so that lead, again, continues to swell in the state. So we'll continue to make sure that we have that information for you once it becomes available. Also want to let you know as well, local news here out of Erie County. We're learning more over the last couple of hours here. Just got this court release. We want to give some information to you here. We're learning, as I'm reading this right now, okay, so we are learning that in Erie County, the Board of Elections, that the official ballots from the November 3rd election will be suspended. The counting will be suspended tonight at 8 p.m. And this is due to extended time required to process provisional ballots. So again, tonight at 8 o'clock in Erie County, ballot counting will be suspended. And again, I just got the notification on my email, so I'll read that in just a second. It looks like it's going to be a fairly important email. And so we're learning again from the Erie County Board of Elections Chairman Carl Anderson that provisional ballot canvassing has been slowed by limited access, so that will be stopped right now. Here's the official release by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So Erie County will stop counting ballots tonight at 8 p.m. and we'll pick it up shortly after, we anticipate, tomorrow. Hold on just one moment, folks. I'm getting an email from Mike Ruzzi, so I just want to make sure that I have... we have an email coming from Mike Ruzzi. I just want to make sure that I have information correct here. Okay, so we'll disregard that quickly here. I'm just looking at my email, just again making sure that we had the news correct, and that I was able to read that email for you. But things seem to be okay now, so we'll go ahead and get back to our coverage here. Just a few minutes left for us, about 10 minutes left here on our coverage on Erie News Now. We're going to go ahead and take a short break. I'm going to leave a picture up here right now. You're taking a live look at Philadelphia at the moment as Joe Biden closing in on a potential presidency here as the numbers continue to come in here on our channel. We'll go ahead and take a very short break. When we come back, though, we'll be with you for the last couple of minutes to break down some new numbers out of Pennsylvania and to give you the latest information on the state and the election. So we'll leave this picture up, be back in just moments. Stick with us. All right, folks, we are back on the alert desk here this evening. A few more minutes left to go for us. I was just checking in with a couple of our anchors, Mike Ruzzi and Eva Mastromatteo, as they are also keeping up to date on the election this evening. And Mike Ruzzi and Emily Matson will take you the rest of the way through our evening shows tonight. I'm going to be heading out here as we get set for the weekend. A weekend that could very well still be decisive in this election. We have not yet called any decisive states for Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Again, we have to note, though, if Joe Biden was to win any remaining state minus Alaska, he becomes the president-elect of the United States. As we take a look at the Electoral College Map right now, Joe Biden, as we've said, 264 electoral votes. If you're someone who voted for Joe Biden, you've been on the edge of your seat for over 48 hours, because the last time that we called a state was Michigan. 48 hours plus ago. That was back on Wednesday afternoon at, I think, about 5:30. So just a significant length of time, a big delay in being able to call any state. But that's because, folks, we just don't have the information and the significant data to be able to successfully call a state right now, because it's just too close to call. The margins are too razor thin. Before we let you go tonight, we have some new numbers out of the state of Pennsylvania, and we want to show you all of the latest races in the presidency. Let's go to that right now. Here we go. Pennsylvania, we have the numbers in. Actually, we have new numbers out of the state of Pennsylvania, so I'm going to refresh my computer. Those are numbers as of 10 minutes ago. We have numbers as of 30 seconds ago. Let's see if we can get those in for you right now. And it looks like we are going to be able to update. Here are the new numbers out of Pennsylvania. You see Joe Biden's lead. A few minutes ago, it was 17,000. Now it's nearly 20,000 votes. 3,324,000 votes for Joe Biden. 3,304,000 votes for Donald Trump. 97% of the votes reporting in the state of Pennsylvania. And again, you see that lead growing, and you wonder, why is it growing for Joe Biden? Well, a lot of the votes that are coming out right now, as we told you at the beginning of the newscast, are out of Pittsburgh. About 35,000 or so votes were still left to be tallied in Pittsburgh. We knew that they were going to be coming in today because they didn't come in yesterday. And so because of that, we're seeing that Joe Biden in a heavily Democratic county, that's Allegheny County, is gaining votes. And he is up nearly 20,000 right now. Again, a state that Donald Trump 2 days ago led by nearly 700,000 votes. But again, Joe Biden not only has made up the ground to tie Donald Trump, he's passed Donald Trump and is on his way potentially to the presidency of the United States. Other races we're looking at as well. We got to show you Alaska. It hasn't been called yet. Donald Trump, though, remains in the lead. Alaska really hasn't updated their races for the last day or two, so we are getting new information hopefully in the next couple of days from Alaska, but it seems like Donald Trump is on his way. 62 to 34%, Trump with a healthy lead there, 118,000 to 63,000 votes, so he is on his way to winning Alaska. Here's what we know from Arizona. Numbers coming in just about 20 to 25 minutes ago. Joe Biden up at the moment, if I can do quick math, 38,000 votes in Arizona against Donald Trump. As you can see, the check mark next to Biden's name means the Associated Press has called the state for Joe Biden. But because the vote is somewhat shrinking, we are continuing to keep watch on Arizona. We're not saying it's going to fall out of the Democrats category, but what we are saying is that it's close enough that we want to make sure that we at least look at it as we continue along throughout the night and subsequently moving into the weekend. In Georgia, it's all about Georgia and Pennsylvania right now as we hit 7:30 nearly on the East Coast. Joe Biden does have a lead. About 4,000 votes is his lead, 4,200 to be exact. So Joe Biden's lead increasing in Georgia. Last we checked, somewhere between the ballpark of 8,000 to 9,000 votes left in the state of Georgia. So if you do the quick math, if you're Donald Trump, you would need to win about 6,500 of those votes to overtake Joe Biden. So again, it's 65 to 70% of those votes Donald Trump would have to win the state of Georgia. We'll show you the numbers in Nevada and North Carolina. Again, you see Nevada, Joe Biden's lead about 23,000 votes. North Carolina, the lead for Donald Trump, 80,000 votes. That's been the same for a significant period of time now. So again, we do continue to bring you results and bring you information as it continues throughout the day. I'm looking behind me on the camera, and Ethan Kibbe is telling me that I have T-minus 1 minute and 25 seconds until I'm off the air, so I suppose we should wrap up and give you the latest information. We do know tonight that Joe Biden is planning on making a speech. We don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know how long, and we don't know for what. What we do know is that it's going to happen tonight at some point, and when that happens, we'll carry it live on our air on erienewsnow.com and our Facebook and Twitter pages. We know that Donald Trump will not be making a speech tonight. The White House has called a lid on the campaign for the day, which means that Donald Trump will not be speaking this evening. And we do know right now that the Electoral College stands as we continued, as we started the day, we end the day, at least at 7:30, with this number. Joe Biden at 264 electoral votes, Donald Trump at 214 electoral votes. If Joe Biden were to win any other state besides Alaska, he becomes the president-elect of the United States, and for only the fourth time in American history, he would knock off an incumbent president. Only 3 times ever has it happened where an incumbent has not won re-election. It would be the fourth if these numbers continue to stay put right now for Joe Biden. So we're going to leave you right now. It's 7:30 on the East Coast, but we're not done. We're going to bring you up-to-date breaking information on air and online, erienewsnow.com, Erie News Now on Facebook, and Erie News Now across our channels throughout the evening. We got to make sure that once the information comes to us, it comes to you, because you, the American people who have voted in this election, deserve to know. We started our election coverage 72 plus hours ago. We end Friday night, at least in this Alert Desk update, still not knowing the president, but significantly closer. That'll do it for me tonight. Make sure to stay tuned. Again, on air, online, Erie News Now. We have the latest updates that you can count on here on our news channel. Good night, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.